On today's episode of the Beauty of Conflict podcast, we are going to talk about like this new normal that we're getting to and COVID fatigue. Because so many of us are like, oh my gosh, is it over yet? Can we go back to normal? And we believe there is not going to be a new normal. We have to do business a different way. We have to interact in different ways. And one of the things that we see is this. We need to collaborate. We can't always compete against each other.
We've been saying that over and over again.
Yeah.
And we think that the two women that we get to interview today have done a stellar job, both with their own businesses as well as collaborating and working together. So we're very excited about today's show.
And they are two women that are artistic directors in our little town of Whitefish, Montana, also known as the Flathead Valley. And one is a professional, brings Broadway stars here to our little valley. The other runs a community theater, and they work together to create amazing things and just bring so much joy and theater and growth to our people.
And they have found ways to bring it back to our community, even in the last few months.
So before we go into the interview, we'll introduce them, and I will introduce Betsi Morrison, who is the artistic director for Alpine Theater Project, also known as ATP. Betsi Morrison has been seen on the stages of Broadway, as well as the nation's leading regional theaters, performing in Broadway productions of The Sound of Music, South Pacific, and the Royal National Theatre's critically acclaimed revival of Carousel, as well as many more. Betsi, with her husband Luke Walrath and David Aykroyd, not related to Dan Aykroyd, founded Alpine Theater Project in 2004 with a mission to bring the Broadway community to our Flathead Valley.
They have done it.
They have. I know we get such a treat. And for the last 16 years, Betsi has produced and directed both adult programs with Broadway stars, and she's used those same stars to educate our local children in the field of acting and singing, and they do amazing musicals. And Betsi herself, she's a lovely soprano, and every Christmas they do a Yuletide production, and we get to hear her sing, and it's just a treat.
Yes. So I get to now introduce our other guest, who is Kim Krueger. She is the artistic director of Whitefish Community Theatre, also known as WCT.
WTC.
My dyslexia coming out. WCT.
Again, WTC. You can do it.
WTC.
Got
no wonder
it. Okay.
I wrote it down wrong here. Okay. Dyslexia comes out in very many forms. So I want to go back.
I think that's right.
Yes.
It's, okay. Go ahead.
Okay. So again, Kim Krueger, who is the artistic director here, she started off her career, which I just love this. She was Snow White. It wins Snow White in the Seven Drawers in 4th grade. She was portrayed as a tree in the evil forest. And she has been doing theater ever since. I think that's where she got her love for working with children. I do believe. She has a bachelor's of fine arts in theater. And she has also worked in various theaters in California, Ohio, Idaho, and Montana. In 2001, she returned to Missoula, Montana, and began working for the Missoula Children's Theater as the tour director manager of their international tour department. She directed and performed for their community theater. She was also the co-founder, co-producer, and director for the independent theater, Every October Productions. In 2009, Kim moved to the Flathead Valley, working as the drama director for Campbell Middle School and Evergreen Middle School, and she started various shows with WCT. She most recently performed in Boeing and directed I Hate Hamlet and Mamma Mia. She's directing Sylvia, which CrisMarie happens to be in as we speak.
And she also, Kim and I, we both, the first play I was in was the first play she was in here. Oh, and wow. She's been my favorite director. She's directed me in several shows. So I just adore her.
So they are both amazing women.
Oh, they are. We are so thrilled. Now we had this interview yesterday. We're doing the intro, and you're going to hear them talk about how they work with the theater, the community, the actors, all sorts of things. And one of the things is they talk about conflict. And what did they say?
What I loved most was, kind of as a lot of people we know, they said, well, I don't know that we really have any conflict. But then they proceeded to talk about what they did do. And it was so clear. It wasn't that they didn't have conflict. They just really got how to use it, how to be full in it, how to bring their whole selves into it, just like what we talk about. So I think they do have conflict. It's just they are experiencing the beauty of it and not staying stuck in the pain of it. So I think there's some really neat things that they're going to have to offer you today, because we sure enjoyed the interview.
Okay, enjoy. Today we have two very special guests, and we're video recording this as well as audio recording it. We have Kim Krueger, Artistic Director of Whitefish Theatre Company, and Betsi Morrison, who just disappeared, but I'm sure she'll be back. There she is. Artistic Director of Alpine Theatre Project. And they are both local to our little town of Whitefish, Montana. And we wanted to have them on this show because they are continuing to create art in the midst of COVID. And we think they're being incredibly creative and collaborative. And so we want to, welcome you two.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, really, it's always been amazing to me just how robust our little town is in terms of its theater productions, between ATP, between Whitefish Theatre Company, between college, various things. And you two have really made Whitefish stand out. One is community theater, the other is professional. You bring people in from New York, and it's amazing.
We get the experience of such good theater in our little, it was 6,000 people. I don't know how many people have moved here now, but
COVID has brought a lot of people here.
Exactly.
You are no longer the only two Broadway people, I don't think. Is that Betsi?
They've moved here.
Have now moved here. We have many Broadway stars.
Yes.
So tell us, what has, each of you kind of carried forward, but even you can talk about what happened initially for you and then how you kind of came to be to continue moving forward. Betsi, why don't we start with you and tell us how COVID hit and what you did.
Okay, I apologize that I went away there during the intro. We are in the middle of doing Aladdin with 100 kids, and the production manager was like, "Betsi, I need to talk to you right now. We're bringing a company in to fly the kids," and she was like, "I have to talk to you right now," and I was like, "I can't talk."
The show must go on, though.
Anyway, yes, that's right. So. During COVID was interesting. When it first hit, Rachel, our production manager, and myself had just been in New York doing auditions for our professional season the week before everything shut down. And so we were in New York kind of, I think we were both lucky to get out of New York, unscathed, because it was, the city was crawling with it while we were there, unfortunately. Anyway, so when we got back, we started our production of Young Frankenstein with our high school program. We do a musical with the high school kids each spring, and we'd been in rehearsal for 1 week, and I thought, we'll be at home for a week maybe and quarantining, and then everything will be fine. But, then everything unfolds, and we were down for the count. So we just shifted gears, and I said, I just don't want to cancel this. And so the kids had already worked on all the music. And so we just sort of set out we didn't really know exactly what it was going to become, but we ended up essentially kind of making a movie of Young Frankenstein, the musical. It became clear very quickly that we weren't going to be able to perform via Zoom or anything like that because of the lag and the delay and the music. And while that can work for a play, for a musical, it became clear very quickly that it was not going to work that way. So we just, it started into this process that we sort of made up as we went along, and we were super proud of the product at the end.
That was amazing. I remember watching it, because hadn't you guys stayed up all night trying to get it up?
Luke, your husband.
Luke had stayed up, and it really was, that was one of the first artistic pieces I'd say I had watched. I think later I actually saw a TV show come through with some Zoom. But you guys were the first, the Young Frankenstein performance that you put out. And I thought that was pretty amazing. amazing, pretty remarkable, so.
I ordered, thank you very much. I ordered green screens for all the kids. All the costumes were sent directly to their homes. It was just, and we did the entire production without anyone ever making contact with anyone else in terms of physical contact. So everybody just did it in their basements by themselves.
Wow.
And it was fun. So thank you.
That's great.
All right. And go ahead, try to unmute Kim there.
Now I can't unmute. Kim, can you unmute you? I think we've lost her.
Kimmer might be frozen.
I think she's frozen.
That's not
We've
good.
lost her.
Okay, well, we'll carry on. And okay, there she is.
Oh, there she is.
Sorry.
And
Oh
Kim,
my gosh.
can you make sure Jen and everybody else is out of the room? We have some background noise.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah. Let me just get them right back.
Okay.
Hey, you guys.
Hopefully we'll edit this out, or
We
this will be
will.
part of the video.
Sorry.
That's
That's
right.
okay. This is what
I just
happened.
I know technology. Ugh. I just want to say that to Betsy, I thought it just was one of the best things for those kids at that time when all the world was just going, and to have that for them to do. I just know that was so important to so many of those kids.
Yes.
And it was a
Thank you.
big production. So
Thank you.
that one just warmed my heart. It was a wonderful thing.
Thank you so much.
Kim, how did you respond? Because you're the community theater, and there was tons of shows lined up. And tell us your
pride.
Yeah.
So we actually have a music season too, and we had this band called Mostly Kosher that was going to come in, and I think that's the first time I realized it was serious because they're out of California, and we were in the middle of Sense and Sensibility rehearsals. We were about to have auditions, and they called and said, hey, this is really serious. And I was like, and here in Montana we hadn't really heard about it much, and I'm like, well, okay. And then we started realizing what was actually going on, and so we had to cancel everything and shut down. And again, I think like Betsy, we were constantly making plans that maybe we could still open if it gets done by here or here. And now I realized how silly that was. That wasn't going to work. But when we all were isolating in our homes, we had Zoom meetings, and the very first one we said, we've got to stream our shows. That's how we're going to survive no matter how long this lasts. And so we decided to do an experiment with a black curtain staged reading called Seminar that happened this summer. And so we actually socially distanced, read the show for a long, long time, made sure everyone stayed in their little bubble. And then we hired a couple of people to come and film it and stream it. And we did it for free for the community. So they would have something to watch that was out there to let them know that we're alive and we're still going to try to make some of this work. And it did work. And
It did. It was great. It was a great show.
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
Thank you.
Great.
So that kind of put us on the path of we got our own streaming equipment. We're training volunteers to to do it. We've had to retrofit the theater a ton. We have plexiglass in the booth. Everyone's wearing masks. Again, we're trying to still socially distance audiences when they come in. Everyone gets their temperature checked. Everyone has to wear a mask the whole performance. Our casts are, if people want to create theater, we've made this rule basically that, you have got to make this your cast, your bubble. Nothing from the outside right now.
We can speak to that.
Make this happen.
Yeah. I mean, CrisMarie's in one of your shows right now, and in the bubble. So
well, and I have to tell you, I had a meltdown. Kim knows this. When I realized after spending time with my scene partner, like, oh my God, if he's got COVID, I've got COVID, and I had to kind of go through that. And I really appreciated, Kim, that you made space. Like, yeah, we got to talk about it, and it is a risk, but we're making it small and kind of going through that emotional process and the dialogue around it. Like for the younger people in the cast, since I'm an older person in the cast, to say, hey, think of me like your family, like take care, be careful.
It's the same way. Like I'm the other
she's
half
connected
of her.
to me.
So I feel some responsibility for your bubble. And sometimes and sometimes a touch resentful of the bubble. Like, wait a minute, So
I want to be in that bubble.
Yeah. It does bring up interesting
but I know Nick, who is new to the community, is fabulous in the show. And he was when we sat down and we've had discussions at auditions about it, like, this is what you're doing, this is what you're getting into, and he was like, nobody in my age group was really talking about it.
Yeah.
He's like, this
He's
feels
28.
actually good to
Yeah.
talk about it,
Mhm.
a little bit. And so I think we've all been very responsible. So
Yeah.
And I mean, it is sort of amazing because you have continued to bring things in. You actually have 3 shows that were getting practiced at one point in your theater. Rehearsing. And Betsi, you brought in a whole kids production this summer out at the baseball field.
Yeah. How did you do that with kids? Like I was worried about our 28-year-old. So how do you take care of the 5 and 8 and 9 and 12 and whatever year-olds?
I almost think that the kids might be better at it than a 20-year-old would. Because you know what I mean? They're just really, particularly at this point now with Aladdin, they're so used to masking up and they're in mask all day at school and they take that so seriously that when they come to rehearsal for Aladdin, they never, ever, ever take their masks off. And we rehearse outside. And I think ATP's approach has been, sorry, Rachel's still trying to get a hold of me. I just need to text her and be like, I can't.
Just a few minutes.
ATP's approach has been to be outside and to rehearse everything outside and perform everything outside. But anyway, so we are rehearsing Aladdin outside on the lawn of the Methodist Church, and the kids are very, very good about wearing their masks. Camp was a little bit different because they hadn't gone back to school yet. However, camp was a little bit older kids. It was 5th grade through seniors in high school. So they understood. And the people coming in from New York were extremely serious about it. And the kids understood how much it meant to the pros that they be careful.
Yeah,
so, we, not that we're lax out here at all. I don't think we are, but we just have a lot of space in which to actually be out and about without our masks. And the people in New York obviously do not have that. They, so, when they got here, it was almost like they were like shell shocked or something. It was really, really interesting because it was the first time any of them had gone anywhere. And they took a chance to come out here and teach the kids. And, but anyway, so the kids have been extremely good about wearing their masks.
That's powerful. I didn't even think about that. And of course, the New York people would have much more sensitivity. I mean, now our numbers are going through the roof. It's almost like we're hitting our first wave, really, even though we've been in this now for 6-9 months or 6, however many months we have been.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It feels like 5 years.
It does.
So, I also have heard, and you can tell me how this worked out, because there are so many people affected in the arts by what happened with COVID, and yet there's so much creativity. And some of our local people have gotten together to put a musical together. I think it started in their respective homes or something. I don't know if that for sure. I've made that up because I heard singing across households.
David and Mikey.
And then they wanted to put something together. And you guys I think have been instrumental in help supporting them to do that.
Can you tell us about that, or how have you supported other artists in the area?
Yeah.
Either one.
I feel like I've been talking a lot. You go, Kim.
Okay. I think in general, we all support each other here. I mean, we are just, there's no competition. There's no nothing. We're just thrilled for any arts we can bring to this town and to our community and to our kids. And that's a beautiful thing to have. I'm a little sad that usually ATP and WTC at the beginning of the fall, we get together and we're like, cheers to the new year, year and our seasons and everything. And of course, because of COVID, we can't. But I look forward to that time again because I think, in general, we just support it, as much as we can, anything. So some mix of our community people and some people who work for ATP came together and they wanted to do this year. Musical's been canceled. And they wrote the script and all the songs, and they asked for some financial support from us. And we were like, yes, Yes, even during this time, we want to, you know, try to put some more art out there as much as we can, any place we can. So it's really a good combination and a good working together of all the artists in our community.
I agree. We have an amazing relationship with WTC. We have what we call happy hour, and initially we wanted to do it every month, but it ends up now probably, you know, once quarterly. We get together, we trade off. It's either at the garage or over at WTC. We just have drinks and talk, and the staff gets together, and it's really been, I don't know, it's really cool because we talk about things that are going on that are hard, and raising money, and how are you guys doing in raising money, and how you know, just all kinds of things, all kinds of conversations. But it's such a great relationship we have with WTC, and we love that. And yeah, Erica and Mikey and Davey and the project they're doing with the musical is going to be super, super fun, and we were all on board. Like Erica called me and she was like, so, you know, I'll write up a proposal. And I was like, you don't even have to do that, Erica. It's fine. Like we want to support it. It's like a no-brainer. So I'm excited to see it. And Luke has a little part in it. So
that's cute.
That's fun.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm curious, like for you guys, even, I mean, I imagine with the business, I imagine in a show, you know, what kind of experiences do you have with conflict and how you show, like Betsi, you and Luke work together. So,
Husband and wife.
Husband and wife. And I know how that goes. Wife and wife, we have our challenges. And
yeah, God bless y'all.
But, you know, but what sort of things can you say about how conflict shows up and how you guys deal with it when it does? Whether it's on a show, because I think even in a show, sometimes I can imagine, sometimes you actually want that conflict to show up, and because it's an important part, but then it may show up when you don't want it to too. So how's that?
As long as he does exactly what I want, it's all okay.
She can say that now that Luke is not here.
It's convenient Luke's not here.
Yeah.
That's great.
You know, it sounds so ridiculous, but I can't imagine if Luke went away to a job 8 hours a day that was something different than what I did. So much of we've been together 20 years, and 17 of those years we've been doing ATP. So I can't imagine it any other way, and we really don't. I guess I can say we don't have conflict, but it's true. Like Rachel and Luke tease me. They say, you know, as actors, we talk about, you know, having your instincts and use your instincts. And they tease me and they say, Betsi loves you to use your instincts as long as they're her instincts. Or her stinks is what they call it. Her stinks. But you know, we truly don't have a lot of conflict. We love what we do, and I don't know. It sounds weird. I wish I had something juicier to say, but I don't really. Yeah, sure we fight, and I want something this way, and I don't know, you know, but it just isn't anything that is, I don't know, significant.
I would imagine, I mean, and I don't know, this comes up for CrisMarie and I, because when we're, I think a lot of what we work with corporate teams, business teams, leaders a lot. And I think we've become so natural about how we go right through that conflict. It gets, you know, it just happens. It's like we have a difference of opinion. We deal with it. We talk about it. People see it. And that a lot of times is what we hear from teams. They see it and they're like, wow, you guys got through that. It wasn't that big of a deal. We can do it. And I would imagine that probably, does that sometimes happen between you and Luke, where people
That's exactly what it is. It's that we don't bottle anything up, and God bless Rachel, because Rachel truly, you know, Luke and I say exactly what we are feeling at any given time. And I think it's why there doesn't end up being a lot of conflict, as we resolve it right away. There's nothing that's ever bottled up, really. And you know, ATP has certainly gone through a lot of administrative people, because the way Luke and I work is not typical.
Right.
You know, people sort of feel like, oh, should I be hearing you? Like, you know, I don't know. It's just, that's the way we deal with it. We
Do it.
say what's on our minds.
I think
I think
communication is for,
Yeah.
for any team.
Yeah.
I think that when you don't communicate and you don't listen to other people's ideas, that's when you get jacked up. I mean, that's what, like, we do. We'll have discussions, and I'll want something one way, and say, oh, can't you do this, or can't you just like cut 2 feet off the set? And Robbie's like, you shouldn't do that, and but we'll talk about it. And we have, I think our team here at WTC is so solid because we respect other people's opinions. We want other people's opinions because that only makes us stronger. And as a director too, I want to hear what my actors have to say and what they're thinking, and because it's going to make me a better person and a better director, and they're probably along the way going to be right. As we get closer, especially as we get closer and closer, and they discover so much more, for example, about their characters than I had imagined. So I think that listening and the talking, and there's going to be some conflict, but putting it into, I guess, a creative slot, is really can actually help a lot of times.
I want to point out that as you guys are kind of saying, we don't have much conflict. In our worldview, what you're describing is what we call the beauty of conflict. In other words, conflict really isn't fighting. I think people think of it like that, but when we actually get out of that to that place where you actually are listening and dialoguing, there can be a lot of energy in that. But that is actually what we think of as really the gift in conflict. That's the beauty of conflict. So it sounds like you have it, but you get the beauty out of it. You don't like go into the despair, broken, divides around right, wrong. You use it to get to something better, is what I hear you saying. It may be messy, but you get there. And I think that is very cool. I mean, that's something we keep driving in the business community. And I don't think the business community allows itself that same emotional, they don't always value that underneath it. This is an important part. But I think in the arts, you really value the emotional landscape. You want that in things. So you're a little more willing to recognize it's a part of this whole makeup. We can't just avoid it.
I mean, Kim,
I think that's exactly right. I mean, I love that. It's so, as an artist, it is part of your emotional landscape. We love being emotional.
Yes, we do.
But,
and I think we realize too, we're so lucky to get to do what we love. Yeah. And, and so, and everybody that you work with, when you're doing some theater, is getting to do what they love. They want to be there, and everybody wants to make it work, so I think that helps a lot too.
And Kim, because I haven't worked directly with you, Betsi, but I have several times with you, Kim. And even last night that came up, like somebody had a different idea and you were really good about hearing it. And when we all had our different COVID talks, and I'm crying and then you're crying, like there's space for that. And that's often in business communities, that's often like, ooh, she's a little too sensitive. Are you okay over there? So it's a little bit more shamed versus creating the space for people to move through that and then use it in the arts, in the scene, So, yeah.
Now, I am curious, because Betsi, you work with professional actors coming in from Broadway, and you work with community folks coming in, Kim. What are some of the challenges that you face with either of that group? Because I can imagine.
Say, first off, Whitefish has the greatest community theater in America. Like they really, it's
so
the
nice.
Quality the quality of WTC shows is so awesome. We're so lucky to have them.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
She's misting right now.
I'm misting my glasses. That's so nice of you, Betsi.
It is the truth. So I don't know. Do you want to speak to that, Kim, at first?
And just to throw it back, we are so fortunate. What Betsi and Luke and ATP gives to the kids in this community, to and the shows that they put on with their professional actors, it's just always in the special events like the opera-lesque and anything in the garage and all of those things. It's all just so different. And so we just, again, we have such a great relation. You know? But, and I think, so we appreciate ATP and all that we can learn from them too. As far as working with community actors, there's always that sense of, again, they just want to be here and they want to do good and they want to, get this show done and make it as best as it possibly can be. And I know, because on the other side, when I've been an actor here, sometimes you try, so hard and you have this thing in your head and, and then your director is like, oh no, you're heading down the wrong path. And you're like, what? So I can feel it from that side when I'm giving a direction sometimes and somebody's like, I could see the actor go, no, I just have that moment. I don't think I liked.
Oh shoot, she froze.
Oh no, she
Come
froze
back.
in that look. Oh no.
Oh, there you are.
There you are. You're
You're
back.
back. You're back.
That was kind of perfectly timed because I think that is what happens. They freeze.
I do. So, so it's always, and every person's different in the way they take notes and, and trying to struggle together. Every actor's different. I think that's the biggest challenge, is finding a way to kindly, get them where you feel like they need to be. And along the way, it's hilarious, you find out so many things, and you could, for a while there, we were, if somebody said a line wrong when we were doing a show, Boing, when we knew we were bad, we'd go, oh, and everyone would turn around and goes, that was so horrible. Here's your Tony. And so we had each other Tonys when we had a really bad acting moment.
That's a great way to shift the mode of it.
Yeah. And I was, and we even call each other out. I was like, oh, that was horrible. Can somebody give me a Tony right now?
That's great.
So,
I love it.
Yeah. And so I think and so I started doing that with some of my cast too. If somebody did something, it was like, ooh, I actually had, like, from when I was young, all these old masks for every show I was in when I was a kid and up all the way through college. I have tons of these, like, 80s masks that I used to hang on my wall, and little clowns and mimes and stuff. So I used those in one of the shows to hand out Tonys. I'd be like, how do you feel about that acting moment? They're like, and I was like, yep, here's your Tony.
Oh, that's great. I love it. Well, and because your people are all volunteer. So you really, and that is a different thing. Then
they have their paying job that they have to, balance. And so
it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing that they do that. I mean, I remember working in, before I started here full time, directing at night or being in a show and getting up like at 6 a.m. to go be, a special ed para at Evergreen, and then, going home and shoving something in my mouth and maybe trying to get a workout in and then going to rehearsal till like 10 at night, and then you have to come down from that. So you're up, So I always feel for everybody now. I'm like, because I go to work and I'm like, yay, I'm going to work, woohoo, and I can see the actors at night going, oh, I gotta get up for work tomorrow, it's getting late,
That was me last night, by the way.
There's a lot to try to be sensitive about when you when you're doing a community theater,
Yeah. And now, Betsi, you, on the other side, you have these professional people. It is their job. They're coming in. They probably, how is that? What challenges are you dealing with? Even when you have to give them feedback that they may or may not want to hear.
I think that, when you do it for a living, it just, the structure of theater is very, very specific, and everybody knows the structure. And so, if you can't take criticism, theater, show business is not for you. But,
constant.
Yeah, and David Aykroyd always says being a director is a benign dictatorship, and it is an interesting position because you have a big team of people. You have designers and choreographers and actors and a whole team of people that you have to get on board with your vision, even when they might think something else. But hopefully you have, it's taken me years and years and years and years to learn, and I'm still not great at it. I try, but to get everybody on board with your vision in a way that makes everybody happy and fulfilled and loving the final product and all of that. So, but anyway, Yeah, you know what's been really this summer when like I said, when our people came from New York, it was the first time they'd been out of the city, and it was a scary thing, I'm sure, for them to step on an airplane and come out here. But they did it. They did it because they love ATP, and they love Whitefish. They love our people here. Anyway, so camp was we had one of those Julys where it was like between 95 and 100 degrees, right?
Yes.
And we performed outside. Everyone was we had ice packs for everybody. We had, I mean, it was, people were getting, heat fainting, right? Like left and right. But the pros were there was absolutely not a single complaint from anybody. Everybody was so, number one, happy to be working, I think, and being, and creating. And, because it had been a long time. Anyway, same thing with the Opera-esque people. I mean, there we were out in the forest. The girls had no clothes on. There were bugs. There were, I mean, but
they had some clothes on, but
not really. Marcy she went all the way. Wow, she did. That was a little special COVID treat for the finale of Opera-esque this time.
Love it.
But anyway, again, like, not a single complaint from anybody. So I think that I love, I came across this little quote for camp that we opened the show with, and it's essentially, and I'm not getting the quote completely right, but it's essentially, out of chaos grows opportunity. And I really, that has very much guided our way. And I think that there is so much opportunity to be gained from this chaos.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's really what we, I think COVID has changed all the rules. And so that's one of the reasons we wanted to interview you, because we think actually conflict is a form of chaos, and out of that can come creativity. Yeah, and this is a real big shift, and you both have responded so powerfully and creatively. And creativity is so important for the soul, for all of us to be involved in it, to watch it. It helps us process things and get through our emotional lives.
And I think, it's so, even when you were describing what it's like for you as, when you bring in these professionals, it just reminds me of how many times we talk to business leaders and they're talking about the same thing. Because so many times business leaders want to kind of force their vision. And that is a very old, outdated model of leadership. And if nothing, and we've had a hard time letting that go in our country, I think. We've had some challenges around it. But COVID is definitely throwing it to the wind. We are not going to be able to come back from this doing business quite the same way. And the very challenges you're talking about, I think, are how do we bring people on board around a more unified vision? And I think the arts are probably going to lead the way, because they appreciate that possibility. Right now I'd say it's the arts are doing a little better than the political side of things. And I won't get into politics much beyond that, but except for maybe the debate was.
Oh gosh, don't even go
okay.
there. Oh gosh.
Sorry, I may have to cut this part out.
Kim, I think you're going to say something, Kim.
Well, it just when our season, we were going to do, we started the season doing Lost in Yonkers, and then we were going to do Elf, the musical. And then, we couldn't get the streaming rights for Lost in Yonkers, and we didn't think it was smart to have a bunch of people singing and running around, on stage. And Elf would have to be, it's a huge, huge show. So we decided to do, we came up with this idea to do a smaller show. We didn't know what it was going to be called. At first, it was called the Whitefish Community Winter Holiday Showdown Snowdown to be titled Gala Extravaganza Cabaret Show. And that's what we sent out. But what we did is we had people who wanted to be in a show, and they came with this. We did it a little differently. We had them audition with something that they wanted to audition with. But then we have a group of writers. It's a lot of the same people who were doing the musical. They did the cabaret here in town. And so basically they took who got cast in the show, and they're writing a show around it. And awesome. It has 5 kids in it. So it's the Basement Bunch. The Basement Bunch's Very Merry Holiday Special. And And I know, so it's about these kids who decide to put on a show through COVID with their wacky neighbors and parents.
Oh, I love it.
And
Okay.
so, yeah. And so the sets are going to be, I'm going to make sure the set is like all different levels, you know, so we don't have like, we're not going to have huge singing groups like all together breathing on each other, you know, and they'll be on different levels. But I mean, that again is bringing together a whole new group of people, you know, with the kids and the writers, and you know, we have musicians and all these people coming together to do a first time like community show that they get to be in.
Wow.
You know, first time we've ever done that here. So
That's
pretty,
cool.
you know,
Very cool.
All that creativity.
Yes.
yes,
You
and
know?
we would not have done that because I was like, I don't want to do that, you know. But then now I'm super excited.
Yes.
But we would not have done that without COVID. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's great. And now I know one of my favorite events of the year is the Alpine
Yuletide.
Yuletide. Are you going to be able to, and you know, those of you who are outside of Whitefish don't know of this incredibly special Yuletide event that happens each year here, but are you guys going to be able to do that?
ATP.
ATP this year?
Yes, I mean, the plan is to do it, and we're doing it outside.
I
In
was just
Montana.
thinking because you guys have really taken your theater outside, and so that is its own challenge. Wow. Okay.
You know, I feel like it's, you know, it's 90 minutes. People go stand at ski joring for 90 minutes.
Oh,
People
it's
go,
so
you
true.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so
We're hardy folk.
we're hardy folk. And Nick Spear actually called me yesterday and he was like, I am so on board to do Yuletide, but I have to tell you that if I'm outside, my fingers are not going to work and my guitars are going to be,
Oh.
you know, so there are, you know,
Yeah.
there are going to be challenges. It's hard to sing outside when it's cold and all of these things.
Yeah.
But, you know, we'll rent lots and lots of stand-up heaters, and
Hand
my
warmers
vision
and
is
feet
to
warmers.
have, my vision is to have, to just invest in a whole bunch of portable fire pits. And
Oh, wow.
so everyone, like families, can just have a fire pit that they have there and dress warm. And because our audiences are capped at 100 people as well, so it's not like you're dealing with the masses really. So
That's
but,
great.
yeah, so
I
it's
love-
happening.
I
can't
love
wait.
that. It's so cool. Both of you have these different ways that you've approached it. And it sounds like have actually spent time talking about how you can support each other in it. I think that is incredible. And we just want more people to realize this is what can happen with more collaboration, community investment, and just knowing you want to keep something alive and going
And
and
connecting.
thriving.
And connecting and creating from that,
Yeah.
from the current circumstances.
So
Yeah.
thank you. I mean,
Anything else that you
Yeah.
want to say just as a closing comment before we end the show?
and we'll put show notes where people can find you, but anything you want to share about what's up next for you or where people can locate you is great. More information.
Well, for Whitefish Theatre Company, we have Sylvia coming up next, which
Woohoo!
CrisMarie is in. All right. And you can come here and socially distance and see it here, or you can buy a ticket to go online. We just switched and stream it. And this will be a full show, sets and costumes and everything. So and we've changed it now. Beforehand, when we've done it, you had to watch the show right at 7:30. From now on, once you buy a ticket, you get a link. You're going to have 48 hours to watch it.
Oh, that's cool.
Wow.
I know.
That's
Yeah,
even-
we're figuring it out as we go along. So, and then we have for the rest of the up until December, we have then another black curtain called Radiant Vermin, which is just a mind-blowing script. It's wonderful. And then we'll have our basement bunch show. So
Yay.
I love it.
and come
Okay.
and see it either way. So, and thank you guys for having me here today. This has been awesome.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Miss Betsy?
I have to say that I think what WTC is doing, they're handling everything so well. The reason that we have chosen to be outside is because the Performing Arts Center that we use as our home is part of a school. And so because of that, it is not open. So part of being outside is just necessity. But WTC is doing such an awesome job with everything. So we have our little kids production of Aladdin Jr. coming up. We are going to be doing it out on the soccer fields, and it is October. It's the weekend before Halloween, so I think it's like October 22nd, 23rd, 24th, right there. And then, yeah, the next thing is Yuletide, and that's the like December 17, 18, 19, something like that. So,
Yeah.
and then we'll be into the new year, into 2021, where hopefully,
Who knows what that will bring? Let's
Who
hope.
Let's hope
knows?
it's better, you know, more
But you can-
sane.
you can check us out at atpwhitefish.org just to learn more about the organization. And thank you so much for having us, you guys.
Oh, thank you
that's
for
fun.
taking the
It was
time.
good to see you, Betsy.
Good to see you, Pam.
Yeah.
Raise a drink.
Yes, there you go.
Yes.
Thank you, women.
Yes, thank you.
Bye,
very
guys.
much.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
I guess we hope you enjoyed that interview. We sure did. And one thing we did figure out, it is WTC because it's Whitefish Theatre Company, and it is a community theater. So that's where we were confused.
So it wasn't even dyslexia.
No, it's to our confusion. And just by the for if you want to check out what either of these companies are doing, you can check their websites. We'll put the link in the show notes. And if you're interested, because WTC is streaming, and if you're out of the area, you can still watch Sylvia October 15th through the 18th or October 22nd through the 24th, because you can buy streaming tickets. So that's
And I
exciting.
tell you, I have been, reading through the lines with CrisMarie. I've played every part
She
other than
has.
the one she has, and it's a delightful place.
It
So
is
I
funny.
encourage you to if
Check
you-
it out.
Check it out. And I'm sure there'll be things you can check out through ATP as well.
Yes, they have Aladdin going on, and then Yuletide, and so does WTC has
Yes.
ongoing schedule. So enjoy.